Welcome to Find the Breakaway. Tonight we're going to talk about an experience in the Midwest, heartland of America, and my point of view on it as somebody who never goes there. I want to start out by saying that I live on one of the coasts. I had to go there for work, and what I imagine the Midwest to be at this point is essentially like what it is to look into space. When we look out into space, we're actually seeing into the past. We're seeing light that has traveled many years in order to reach our telescopes. And in a way, that's what the Midwest is like. We're looking at light from far away, so far away that it's like looking into the past. And that light in this context is more like the cultural shift from the cities to the rural populace. The trends, the culture begins changing in the cities and then moves at a steady pace towards the rural country people. And because that shift has not actually impacted the Midwest yet, you can see old America. You can see a people who still smile at strangers who wave to them. They look a little funny, and we're going to get into that. But after hanging out with them, you can imagine what the cities used to be like. Why Detroit was a great place to live in the past. Why Seattle was a better place to live in the past. Why San Francisco wasn't such a dump in the past. If you took all of those Midwest people who are very simple-minded, kind of funny looking, but genuinely nice, and stuck them in a city and gave them a little better education, you would have a fantastic country. Makes sense why everybody would want to come here, right? Not so much anymore. But let me tell you my experience. So I had to go there for work, and I end up touching down at this small regional airport. I get out and I go to the front counter to rent my car. One person, one car rental stop right there in front of the gate. No lines, no pushy people, just gentle conversation. Here's your keys. There you go, sir. Have a great day. Done. I turn around the corner outside the door, 10 steps, there's my car. Drive off. In 30 seconds, I'm outside of the airport. Wonderful, right? I go into what they call a Hy-Vee. If you don't know about Hy-Vee, maybe if you're from a Publix area where you have a Publix, it's kind of like a knockoff version of a Publix almost. It reminds me of like sort of a Midwestern, we have less things kind of a Publix, but they're still really pushing for good, polite service as opposed to maybe the Walmart across the street, which probably still has okay service because it's in the Midwest, but regardless. And I go in there and I'm looking around for something that's good for me to eat. And I end up passing one of the stock boys just twice. And he turns to me and in the most genuine tone possible, he says, "How are you doing today, sir? What can I help you to find?" And I'm like, and I just naturally me who lives around people who don't care whether I live or die. I just say, "No, I'm okay," as I'm walking away. All right. And then from behind me, yelling at me as if I'm a long lost friend who he hasn't seen in forever, but has to go for some shocking reason. He says, "Okay, well, have a good day now." Oh my God. Bless his heart. And I'm walking around. More smiles, more friendly faces. Smells like pee. Smells like BO. Not too dirty. There's about nothing that I feel like I can eat inside of there. And over the radio intercom, instead of marketing the latest trendy food, they're marketing foods that lower and regulate insulin levels for type 2 diabetics. Okay. We have a little bit of a difference. You go out into the parking lot and it's dusty, it's hot. There's two morbidly obese people sitting on the back of a pickup truck in the middle of the parking lot because that's something cool to do. Okay? They don't have anything else going on. No sunglasses either. They're just sitting in the beating hot down sun, fat as hell. Okay? I'm getting over the pee smell from the store. I have a little bit of bananas with me. I'm going back to my rental car. Everybody looks like they are deformed. And I'm going to get into that in a minute here. But you're looking out into the parking lot, and I noticed something really special besides those two fat people sitting on their pickup. They have these little signs at the stalls near the store. They're not disabled signs. They're not veteran signs like you see all the businesses pander to, pretending to like soldiers. This sign read, "This stall reserved for expecting and pregnant mothers." That's the Midwest. Fat as hell, smells like pee, very friendly, reserving stalls for pregnant women. You get the idea? Now, as I'm going through my day here, getting over to the hotel, I started noticing something odd about the people. And it's, I hate to say it, very ugly. Very ugly people. But I don't think it's their fault. And I don't think it's something that people talk about. Because not only are these people very, very fat, but they look like they're being poisoned. I'm talking about this odd, milky, white skin that I saw in several places, very blotchy skin, almost as if there's cystic acne involved, patchy hair on top of the head, almost in a kind of radiation style that you might see of like a sick bear in Chernobyl. But they're nice as hell. And you think, well, where's that lack of vitality coming from? They're just surrounded by farms. And I think, number one, it's partially intentional to try and kill these nice people off. But I also look at, again, the farm that they're surrounded by. And I started talking to one of them about the herbicides, pesticides that they use there. And they will defend glyphosate. They'll defend personally using Roundup. They'll defend all of those different products that they see as something that helps them put money in their own back pocket because they need it to get their job done. And that's fair. But imagine somebody who grows up, lives for years, surrounded for hundreds of miles around them by crop fields that regularly get sprayed by a incredibly toxic chemical. And that spray doesn't just stay on the crops. It moves around in the wind. It gets into the water table. It gets into the breathing air. And then over time, what's going to happen? We're going to have inflammation. We're going to have heart problems. We're going to see people getting fatter, because oftentimes getting fatter is a sign of poor underlying health that can be caused by something else. It's not just stuffing their faces. But that's another thing too, is these Midwestern people, I've come to pity and cherish them. These Midwestern people, they have nothing to do. Nothing to do. You go to these towns, and that's why you see two fat people hanging out in the parking lot of a grocery store in the middle of the day, because that's the only thing they have to do. That's the club hangout. That's the bar. That's the nightclub. Okay. That's the hot spot where they're going to see their friends. And when you have nothing to do, very little pleasures available to you, what are you going to do but eat? Hello? And then we have all these foreigners around the world, the cliche European who likes to poke fun at fat Americans, and there's a lot of us. Oh, dear God, there's a lot of fat Americans. Did you know the majority of the country is now obese? The majority. What else do they have but the pleasure of going to a Domino's and trying the newest pizza? Going to the gas station and trying the newest soda. This is all they have. You think they have places they can walk to? No. You think they have parks they can enjoy? No. You think they're just going to go hiking and camping and try to burn off that weight enjoying nature? No. You know what nature is in the Midwest? Thousands of miles of corn. They don't have national parks. You can drive for hours and see the same damn landscape. It's all been industrialized for an economic purpose. These people don't enjoy their land. They're not allowed to. So they're going to hang out, they're going to drink alcohol, maybe do some dumb stuff, and get fat. And what the fuck else are they supposed to do? To me, it looks like a planned attack on these people. Strip them of any outlet, completely destroy the nature around them, poison them at the same time, and not only poison them, but make the poisoning part of their own lifestyle, part of their own job, to the point where they have to defend the poison that is being sprayed on them. And you start getting the picture of how the demographics are changing in this country. And another thing, I'm in a meeting, right? I'm in a meeting with blue collar guys. And I see nothing but honesty and pain on their faces. No one is trying to be dramatic. No one is trying to say anything that is unnecessary. They're only speaking when they have something worth saying that is actually going to contribute. Otherwise, they're silent. And a lot of those guys didn't say anything. And their hands looked like thick leather gloves because their hands are wrinkly, they're tanned, and they're thick with muscle. And their eyes have been squinting for so long in the sun that some of them you can barely even see their eyes. They're just black. And I would rather take that over some preachy social justice warrior any day of the week, no matter how educated they may be, objectively more than the blue-collar worker. Because that blue-collar worker I consider to be a human being in a very difficult situation. But I'll tell you something. The harder the environment, the more difficult it is to live somewhere, the nicer people are in this country. Maybe not in other countries. But in America, the harsher the climate, the nicer the people are. In Hawaii is the capital of trash, of self-indulgent morons, violence and alcoholism. Have you seen the alcoholism rates in Hawaii? They're through the roof. The drug use, through the roof. That's supposed to be paradise, where everybody enjoys themselves and enjoys nature. And they're so peaceful and loving. Oh, those native Hawaiian people. So wise. They're all just fat, living on government welfare, hating other people, not rising to challenges to improve themselves, but making excuses. That's Hawaii. Hate to break it to you. Okay. That's how a lot of Florida is. These are wonderful climates where people should theoretically be happy. But they're not. They're not. In Florida, people are bitter. There's a lot of bitterness. There's a lot of envy and jealousy and immaturity, and guys pretending like their wieners still work. That's Florida, okay? But you take someone South Dakota, North Dakota, Missouri, Nebraska, Oklahoma. I'm not even going to count Texas. I think Texas is not what it used to be. I don't think we can count Texas as the rebellious Lone Star state anymore. Texas is conquered. If all of those tough cowboys were going to do something, they would have done it by now. They don't exist. You go to somewhere like rural Tennessee, rural Michigan, those places. And you're going to see some good people. You're going to see people who smile at you. And after being around them for a little while, it's going to rub off. You're going to start saying with a smile, hello. You're going to be glad to see a stranger. It's like magic. And it's because inside of your body, you've been wanting to be in a society like that. It's within you. It's deep in your DNA. It's in there, your genetic consciousness, that you're supposed to be around nicer people who all know each other in a smaller town. That's the village that you're supposed to be in, not one of these megalopolis cities where you're never going to see the same person twice. And everybody's stone-faced and will step over your body when you're dead. So go to the Midwest. Check it out. It's going away. It's not going to be there, I would say, much longer. It's already been infiltrated by this new world order, World Economic Forum crap that destroys culture, destroys family. They come in through the university in a lot of these smaller towns, the colleges, and it just spreads out like cancer does. These places won't be around much longer. Okay. And I'll leave you with one incredibly heartfelt, little cherry of a moment that I experienced on the plane ride back to where I live. I'm sitting next to a young girl. She's maybe 17, 18 years old. Glasses, somewhat pretty, has a very innocent face about her. And as we land, she perks up, sits up straight, looks across the aisles in front of her, and just a little louder than under her breath, she says, "This is a really nice plane." Can you imagine? We're just on a regular domestic 200-something person plane. And she genuinely says, "This is a really nice plane." She's astonished by how nice it looks. And I turn to her. I'm somebody who's been, this might be my 100th plane that I've flown on, and I hate them. And I say verbatim, "What do you like about it?" Because in my mind, there's nothing to like about this. And she just says, again, in this genuine sincerity, "We don't usually take planes like this in South Dakota. Our planes are much smaller." South Dakota. Someone who can actually appreciate a modern airplane that I take for granted, that most people take for granted, which is a miracle of being able to fly in the sky. Where does that kind of person come from? Have you ever been at a point in your life where you're willing to sit up straight, lean forward in an airplane, and marvel at how nice it looks? What kind of events, what kind of environment do you have to come from to have that kind of just genuine, spontaneous sincerity and gratitude? I don't know. I've never had that in my life. I don't know what kind of nice place she came from. but I got to see a little bit of it. And this is coming from someone who has traveled around the world, who has had that fortunate opportunity to see a third world, to see other first worlds, to see many different cultures. And that's just an American thing. It is. You're only going to find that kind of girl here in America, in the Midwest. So feel free to call into the next show. Give us your opinion. Give me your opinion about tonight's talk at a future event, or whatever the hell else you want to say. You can always scan the QR code up at the top right. If you're still watching the video, thank you very much. We're going to be having these talks at 2100 Eastern. That's 9 o'clock every Saturday night. See ya.